the button.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
All right, guys, so can you see the little version or the big version?
I see the big one.
You see the big one. Great. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move this down here a little bit. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about today is something I think that we all deal with, whether it's in a virtual capacity or an online capacity. And, you know, I've been very fortunate to work. I'm kind of getting a little bit of feedback from somebody's phone. I'm not sure whose it is. If you could mute that, that'd be awesome. So when I was trying to think of a practical topic to talk to you guys about today, and this has kind of been a little bit of a reoccurring thing for us, not only in a ground capacity but an online capacity, it was managing the unmanageable. That's what I kept thinking, because we are constantly, you know, interacting with students, whether it's in a virtual capacity or in a residential capacity. So I wanted to talk about classroom management and some strategies that you can explore in terms of making your life a little bit easier. Let me go ahead and go to the next slide here. Okay. All right, so a couple of things that I'm sure you've heard from students, and I was racking my brain and I could think of some other ones, but you know, I had to PG some of this. Why do I have to do this? I don't need fill in the blank, whatever that may be. I don't need English composition. I don't need to know how to do X. That seems to be a frequent one. I shouldn't have been deducted points, and then there's a debate that occurs. I have my children. I am working a full-time job. My car broke down. My dog ate my computer. Partridge in a pear tree. I don't have my homework done because I work 12-hour shifts. I don't have my homework done because my child got sick. I don't have my homework done because my internet went out in a storm that didn't actually occur. Okay, if you have them in classes, you can often see that they are looking down at their lap. What exactly is it that they're looking at? I'm sure their pants are not that exciting. So that's what they're doing. Text, 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 text. And some students who are a little bit braver will do it blatantly in front of you. Social media slams. All of my program directors are on Facebook. Some of you also may be on social media. And if they don't like what's going on in the class, they do not mind throwing it out there on social media. I've seen it time and time again. A lot of times in classes, what you will see is you will see a dominant alpha student. Can you just be quiet? Mr. X is trying to talk. And they'll try to defend the instructor, okay, which is very, very nice, but it's a classroom management issue. I don't agree with whatever it may be. And we've seen this online, and we've also seen this residentially. So these are the types of things that, you know, I'm sure at some point in time, you have heard from your students. If you have not heard them, you have not been teaching that long, and you will hear them. So a couple of things that I'm sure you can relate to when I was going through these images, you know, entitlement. A lot of our students, you know, they do not believe that they should have been deducted points. They believe that you should have provided them the extension. They believe that they are being victimized. So, you know, when I saw this image, I thought you guys could possibly relate to that. You know, and we're constantly, whether it's in a residential capacity or a virtual capacity, you know, you can write it, you can say it, you can video message it, you can Morse code it to them. But a lot of times there's a disconnect. A lot of times there is a disconnect. Those of you who teach in a residential capacity, I'm sure, you know, Robin and Lisa can relate to this. You know, sometimes they look at you and you can just tell, did you hear anything I said? Absolutely not, because you were not listening in any way, shape, or form. And, you know, the constant, well, Brittany does it this way, but Bryce does it this way. well, in Casey's class, I'm allowed to do this. But when I have Megan for Legal Research and Writing 1, she lets me do this. And it's that mom against dad thing. So I'm sure at some point in time you have also experienced this level of our students. Couple of things as instructors, okay? And when you have a really bad experience in a classroom, and a lot of that comes from the personalities of the students in the classes or what occurs within your classes, these are some thoughts that I've had over my 11 years of teaching. Why did I become an educator? Why did I do this to myself? They're so ungrateful. I have been over backwards for them. I have tutored them. I have been at their beck and call, and this is how they treat me. Can you believe student, X did this, and I'll talk to my program directors and I'll find myself doing this. Can you believe that this happened? Can you believe that this happened? I've heard instructors say this so many times. This is beyond my pay grade. What? Totally beyond my pay grade. I didn't sign up for this. And then I've had some instructors go the opposite way. Tomorrow's going to be different. Just wait. Wait till I get in that classroom. Wait till I get my hands on them. You just wait to see what happens. Rayan does this a lot. So, this is something that I've heard myself say, program director say, let me tell you something. You just wait. You just wait until I get Jennifer. You just wait until I see her. I have never been so disrespected. I have never been so disrespected. I can't believe they sent that response back to me. I can't believe that they said that to me. I can't believe this was posted on social media. And then it results in absolute mental and emotional exhaustion in some capacity because this is what you're dealing with. And it all relates back to the classroom management. So a couple of things happen as instructors, and those of you who have children, Pixar came out with the emotions, and what is that show called? Oh my goodness, it's a movie. But anyway, as instructors, we go through different emotions when we have these days, which is a result of lack of classroom management. You go through the anger, the absolute disgust, and then you have the sadness. Okay, and depending on what type of personality you are, it can result in one of these three things. Okay, we can also see a fear of entering back into the classroom. Okay, I didn't die today. That's, unqualified success. Okay, I did it. I'm in survival mode. I really don't want to go back in there, but okay. And very, very few times do we get to have that joy. Okay, and a lot of times as educators, when we have these bad days, it stems from classroom management. It really, really does. What's happening within that classroom that's making you feel anger, that's making you feel disgust, that's making you feel sad, that's making you feel fearful of entering back into that classroom, whether it's virtually or in a residential capacity. Okay, so anytime I talk to my new instructors, and even my instructors who are my veteran instructors, my program directors, myself included in this, I always tell them, you're driving the bus. This is your class. You're in charge. You're at the forefront. You are the bus driver. And a lot of times we have to change our strategy if the strategy is not working by changing our attitudes. So, a question that I have for you guys is, how exactly is it that you view your students? And depending on the day and depending on the class, I'm sure it's different, but it's really, really important that we focus not on the problem students, but the students with problems. Okay, every student, especially our type of student, they are the non-traditional student, and they are coming into us with multiple problems, and in no shape or form are miracle workers. But instead of identifying, they're problem students, they're students with problems. They are students with problems. And so those problems need to be looked at and viewed as learning opportunities, which can be really, really challenging depending on the group of students that you have, whether it's virtual or residential. So as I was creating this PowerPoint and I was reading and I was going through all these articles and I was going through some of the stuff I went through in grad school to refresh and remind myself. But the most important role an educator can serve is that of a classroom manager. Effective instruction is impossible in a poorly managed classroom. And what ends up happening in a poorly managed classroom is chaos becomes the norm, and students adjust to that chaos. So what happens if there is chaos within the classroom? You're not going to get to cover what you need to cover. There's no possible way. The comprehension of the students who are listening and intent and on time is not going to be there, and it facilitates an unstable environment for students, and it's very, very challenging once you lose control of the classroom to gain that back. So a couple of things. I was reading, and it was really interesting. A study was conducted with 60,000 students and their learning achievement. And what these researchers found was the most important factor affecting student learning was the effectiveness of the instructor. So what they looked at is they went into classrooms, they surveyed students, they observed multiple instructors, and they realized that achievement of students increased by 52% with the placement of an effective instructor versus 14% over an academic year with a less effective instructor. So Brittany, what's an effective instructor? What exactly are you talking about? So what created and what they determined an effective instructor to be is the choices of their instructional strategies, the curriculum to facilitate the student learning, and the classroom management techniques. Was the classroom controlled? Was the instructor in charge of the students? Was there chaos? So these were three factors that contributed to the effectiveness of an instructor, which obviously you can see those percentages, 52%. That's very, very high compared to 14%. So a couple of things, and how exactly is it that we can implement this stuff, and what can we do? How do I get there? How do I become this classroom manager? Creating a daily routine is critical. Okay, whether it's online or on ground. Anytime I teach online, I always send a weekly agenda to the students. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what you can expect this week. Here's what's going on. And I send videos to them. I am a video queen when I am teaching. I want them to see me. I want them to hear me, because text on a page is much different than them seeing you. I am a real person. I'm behind a screen. Here I am. And it humanizes that online environment. But creating a daily routine, it provides students with a level of expectations and guidance. Here's what we're going to be doing. Anytime I teach in a ground capacity, there is a written verification of here's what we're doing. They see it every single week. Here's what we are going to be covering this week. Here's what you can expect Monday through Thursday. Repetition and consistency. Extremely, extremely important, in addition to attention grabbers. So there's different things, and obviously residential instruction is different because you're physically present. But there's different things that you can do to grab their attention while transitioning to the next task, which is really critical. The clear identification of rules and policies on day one. I do this both virtually and residentially. They have access to that syllabi, but a lot of times I don't think the syllabi in an online capacity does it. I don't think it's enough. Okay, here's my late policy. Yeah, here's I'm going to take 0 late work. Well, that's great. That's wonderful. What I do, I send an additional PowerPoint. Here are my expectations. Here's what I expect for you to get by the end of the class. Here's what we're going to be doing. Here's why it's important to your program. My medical students always ask me, Brittany, why do I need English? It's a great question. It's a great question. Let me answer why you need it. Okay, so the clear identification of rules and policies, this can include if you're teaching in a computer lab, okay, which can be very distracting because the students have a tangible distraction right in front of them, and they are geared towards technology. Anytime that you're teaching in a computer lab, all right, push your seats away. Push your seats away. It's time for you to look up at me. I need to see your eyes. Or turn off the computer screen. So those rules and policies need to be established on day one, because the students know, okay, this is what the expectation is. This is what Rick expects. This is what Rayan expects. They can get to know you, whether that's through the phone, whether that's through a video, whether that's through a media message, but you have the capabilities to do that. It's very, very important that the students understand what your background is. Why are you deemed the subject matter expert, and why should I listen to you? Okay, it establishes credibility, it establishes authority. The next thing, preference and personality. I love teaching in a ground capacity, and anytime I teach in a ground capacity, I'm very forthcoming with them. Okay, guys, I'm a passionate person. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands a lot, and I can get loud. I can get passionate, and these are my expectations, and I'm not going to bend. But I want you to have this information going into this class. It's important for you. This is very, very important. And so I give them a glimpse into who I am, okay? Because that's important for them to know me. This is important for them to know, okay, what are her idiosyncrasies? Okay, what is it, who is she as a person? I get who she is as academically and professionally, but who is she as a person? Very, very important for them to know who you are. Okay, idle hands are the devil's workshop, and online we have blasted online with as many assignments to fulfill those weekly and course objectives, and it is very content heavy, and it is constantly going under review. But idle hands are the devil's workshop. Prepare and engage, and always have a backup plan. With instruction, it is so critical that they are busy from the time that they enter your classroom to the time that they leave your classroom. Because if they are busy, there is no time for them to be disruptive. There is no time. And I always have with me a backup assignment, because you do have students at different ability levels who move through the assignments much quicker. Oh, I'm finished. Okay, I got something else for you. It's right here. Come get it. Extremely, extremely, extremely important. When I first started teaching, I had a veteran instructor, and she taught for 45 years. She told me this, and I thought, oh, okay, whatever, you're old school. And I fell on my face a couple times, and I thought, oh, she's right. She's right. I should have listened. Proximity to students and movement is vital. Obviously, online it's a little bit different. But once again, and you're going to see this become more stressed in an online environment, where I'm going to start pushing the online instructors to utilize those video tools, because it's extremely, extremely important. Rayan says it best. She travels to the various campuses to see her students when they're at clinics. And I'm sure she doesn't do that because she enjoys driving down 79 South. But the reason she does it, I want them to see my face. I want them to know I'm a person. I want them to see me. And you're able to do that from the convenience of your home. So you're definitely going to see a shift in the upcoming months to utilize that video. But if you're teaching in a residential capacity, I am never sitting at my desk. I am never sitting. The proximity to the students is critical. It's critical. Proximity can completely nip a situation almost immediately. So walking around, interacting, where you see a disruption, that's where you're physically moving to. Okay, I see a disruption, I see something happening, this is where I'm physically going. And I stand there. I stand there. If there are students talking, I will go directly to where those students are talking, and I stand and I continue to lecture and I continue to talk. And it's a miracle the communication subsides. So it's very, very, very important that, you know, you are moving and you are constantly in proximity to your students. What makes our institution different, and Samantha's on the call, and so she's constantly working on assisting students and supporting students through the job search, but we are job-centric. We are job-centric. And so with online, with residential, it is extremely important with classroom management to tie it back to the professional environment. Here's why you're doing this. Here's why you can't behave like this. What's going to happen when you're in a job? They're going to fire you. If you come in late 4 out of the 5 days, you're not going to have a position. If you are delayed in submitting your work, they're not going to want you. So we are constantly preaching not only the hard skills, but the soft skills. And so that is definitely something that you can use in your hip pocket and pull that out. Be aware of the institution's resources and call for backup when you need it. Your program directors know the ins and outs of their students. They work with them on a daily basis. If you need assistance, if you need backup, you can always go to a program director. You can always come to me. Hey, listen, I'm having an issue. Can you help me? Absolutely. Now, there are some negatives when a program director or myself comes in. Okay, and it can go one of 2 ways, and I always prepare my instructors for this because I'm very, you know, it can go one way or the other. It can undermine the classroom instructor, which is not good, and it could result in a further loss of control. Okay, well, they had to bring in Rayan. Rayan had to come in and save her. Okay, so it has to be done very subtly to ensure that that does not occur. But you do have resources at the institution. You have access to their cell phone numbers, so use them at any point in time. Silence is golden. You know, never underestimate the power of silence. And online, I get you can't be silent. You have to be just the opposite of silent. So we're going to talk about you here in a second. But if you have a situation in a ground classroom that's getting out of control, or you have students who are excessively talking or being disrespectful, one of the strategies that you can explore is just be quiet. Just completely shut down. Be quiet, sit down. They will stop. They will stop. You're not yelling over them. You're not making a scene. They will stop. And you will eventually establish, and those of you who are parents, you have that mom glance. You know, you look at your kid and they just know, okay, enough's enough. All right, forget it. You know, but that is established from day one. That is established from day one. These are my expectations. These are my guidelines. This is who I am. That is established on day one. This is the line. Do not cross it. Online's a little bit different because you can't go silent. So it is not a viable option there. The opposite is actually required for online. And too often what I've seen my instructors do, which gets them in a little bit of a pickle, is they will get into texting or emailing their students. And they're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That really opens you up to be vulnerable, okay? What I've told my program directors and what I tell my instructors, call them, get them on the phone. If you have, and actually she wouldn't mind if I mentioned it, I have a new instructor and she's coming on as my program director, and she was engaging with the student and they were going back and forth via text, and I said, no more. Get her on the phone. If there's an issue, you tell her that you will set up a time to speak with her. And that's exactly what she did. I will speak with you about this. What time works for you? And they had a phone conversation and it was done, because written communication is so dangerous because it can be misinterpreted. It can be so misinterpreted and it can make things worse. So for an online instructor, silence is not an option. Get them on the phone. And when I teach online, what I tell them, if there is an issue and they're coming back and they're debating points or they're having frustrations, I will be more than happy to talk to you. Let's connect today. What time works? 12 o'clock. What number should I contact you on? Okay, I'll talk to you then. That's the only thing I put in writing. That's it. That is it. So very, very, very important. Do not ignore the problem, okay? And it's uncomfortable. Classroom management can become uncomfortable because you have to address issues because you're managing people. You are managing these students. So do not ignore the problem, whether it occurs with a group or an individual student. Pull them, be direct with them, be informative, do not make assumptions, but it needs to be addressed. It's extremely, extremely important. Autonomy. Autonomy is also important. Implement agendas. Identify student roles. They need to know what their role is. They're not going to take over your class. They're not the instructor. They're not the facilitator. Problem-based teaching and student-centric teaching. Extremely, extremely important. Extremely, extremely important in terms of classroom management. Creating a classroom community. There are so many times that there are teachable moments, and those teachable moments can be subtle, and they may not be subtle, but point them out. Point them out. Use your life as an example, okay? If you feel comfortable doing that, do it. That's totally fine. Classroom projects, if you are implementing or utilizing a classroom project, you want to make sure that the interactions, although you're promoting them and you're super excited, they're controlled. They're busy. It is guided. The instructions are extremely, extremely clear. And, you know, that will promote discussions and cooperation. A couple of instructional strategies that you can implement. Bell work. I loved bell work. I did this in high school. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I loved it. Before they even came in the room, there was a problem on the board, and they knew. They sat down and they just got to work. It was wonderful. It started the classroom out. It was absolutely, absolutely great. Video integration. So once again, online instructors, you're going to start seeing a shift here in the upcoming mods. You know, we're going to start using video integration for discussion boards. I'm really, really excited about it. You know, they can see you, you know, you can see them, and you're talking about the topic at hand. So you're going to start seeing a lot of shift towards media to promote that. Utilization of rubrics. I love rubrics. The reason I love rubrics is because I'm able to give them feedback, and they know exactly what is expected in the designated assignment. They cannot come to me and say, well, I didn't know. I didn't know you were looking for this. Yes, you did. I gave you the rubric, and I explained the rubric. In every online class, a rubric is accompanied with the assignment. So my instructors who use a rubric, very, very rarely do they get into, well, why did you deduct points? Well, why was this? It's right here. It's right here in your rubric. Providing clear instructions. You want to make sure that we are giving them clear tracks to walk in. Okay, so I gave you guys an example here, line up quietly. And obviously this is something a little bit more juvenile in secondary education. But if I were to say that, I could have a student easily tell me, well, you know, no, be quiet. That is quiet for me. I was being quiet. Versus me saying, line up without talking. So it is extremely, extremely important that we are giving them clear instructions regardless of what it is that we are asking them to do. Repetition and reinforcement, verbal, written, and positive affirmation when they do something well. Way to go, nicely done, they're getting that. But repetition and reinforcement is critical in classroom management. Just to go back, and you know, and we're constantly, and we have those days as educators where we get frustrated and we get down or we get angry, or you know what, this is so much time and why am I doing this? Please remember who your students are, and I know sometimes that can be hard. I know that can. They're easily discouraged. They have failed so many times at life, and everybody fails. We've all failed on this call at something, but they have failed at life tasks, whether that's being a parent, whether that's gaining employment, whether that's being at multiple institutions. A lot of these people are single parents. They have extenuating circumstances that are far more dire than I can even comprehend. And some of the stories that I have heard and I have witnessed students go through over my decade of teaching have been heartbreaking. Some of them have learning disabilities that they are fearful to even bring to the forefront. They are first-generation college students. They also have an issue controlling their emotions. They lack any type of social norms. They become very defensive. Their confidence is non-existent, and their problem-solving abilities are absent. So for people like us, we can problem solve. We have confidence. We have life experience. They don't have that. And so I always remind my instructors, especially and we all get jaded at some point, but if you were in their situation and your water just got turned off and you have 3 kids to feed and you're working for a minimum wage job and you're walking 30 minutes there and 30 minutes back, would you be in a better or worse situation? And I always ask myself that. I would probably be worse. So it's very, very critical when we're dealing with our students in classroom management that we remember who they are. And so purpose of an educator, and I want to get back to this because too often we're in the grind. And, okay, I'm teaching research and writing online, and I've got 4 assignments per week, and I've got a quiz, and I've got a discussion, and I'm working my full-time job, and then I got to come home and do A, B, C, and D. And then my residential people, okay, I'm here from 8 to 2, and I'm dealing with, you know, this student coming in tardy, and this student who's on the computer, and this student who's texting. What is my purpose? What is my purpose? And I think it's really important that this is your purpose. This is your purpose. And we've been very fortunate. You know, last week we had graduation, and we were able to see and these people walk across the stage and accomplish something. And so, you know, just to fill you in on these pictures, and they're posted on our Facebook, you know, the gentleman with his family in the left-hand corner, not the one who's holding his hat, but the gentleman to the left, if you're looking at your screen, he came from Africa, and he worked his way through the medical assisting program. And he was absolutely wonderful. And when he went up to get his diploma, he gave Rain a kiss on the cheek because she changed his life. The gentleman who's holding up his hat, and I don't know this code, but Robin could tell you what this code was. I could not. It is written in computer code, and it says, "Thank you, Dan, thank you, Robin." And he's with his family. And he decorated his cap. And the young student who is at the very bottom, she had a time. She had such a time with her program, and she lost her mother. And you can see on her cap, okay, there's a picture of it, and it says on there, "Love you always. I did it." So that is the purpose of an educator, regardless of how frustrated we get and how burnt out we get and how tired we get. That is the purpose of what you do. And ultimately, at the end, when Sam gets to them and they get placed and they get in their job and they get in their career and they are working that degree to the fullest extent, you have changed their life. Whether you're teaching a general education course, a supporting course, a core course, in some capacity, you have changed their life, and you were a stepping stone to get them to the end goal. So I wanted to end with that. I thought that was extremely, extremely important. so you guys could see what we got to see this past weekend. And it was very, very, very refreshing. So do you guys have any questions for me? No?
No, it's good.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, you know, guys, thank you for getting on here. I definitely, you know, wanted just to go over this with you because this is something, you know, we're seeing more and more frequently. But I will be sending this to you in case you want to look at it or implement any of the strategies, but I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you for getting on.
Thank you. Thanks, Brittany. It was really great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.